This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 2. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. Call halal, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH. That's giving all praise to the Most High, in the name of His only begotten Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors to our teachers, the elders and apostles, the great millstone, who taught us His truth and sincerity. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad. Shalom to 144,000. My name is Ibar from the Prophets in Babylon camp down here in Tampa, Florida. And it's gonna be a live I want to do. Lord willing, is quick. But you know how the spirit go. I want to play this video from GMS Inspiration. All right, and this, I haven't even seen the whole video yet. I started watching it, and the spirit said, press the button. So through the spirit, I want to, bring this back and press the button. And I just pray it's edifying to the hopeful elect. All right, but we definitely at the end of this place. Okay, America's on its way out. Okay, it's completely through, and it's only a matter of time. All right, things are about to get very, very rough in America for everybody, and all the signs have been there. Okay, but the main sign was the prophets, the men of the Lord, going out there telling you to repent, going out there telling you that America's about to be destroyed, telling you that there's going to be, high prices and eventually no food in these stores, no water, no any of that. And we're seeing these things start to take place in the earth because of sanctions and tariffs and whatnot, but what's bad is only going to get worse. So it's only a matter of time, okay? America is done. America is done. And this is needful, okay, for our salvation, that America, be done so we can get delivered. All right, this is all a part of us getting our salvation, our deliverance, from Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. As this place crumbles, we are rising. All right, so let me bring that back. It says, Proverbs chapter 11, verse 2. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. All right, and the lowly is starting with the elect of the nation of Israel. Okay, the scripture says the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Well, in this society, in this kingdom, we are last. Okay, but as this society falls and this kingdom is destroyed, we shall be first. All right, but the point is, America has been very proud. Okay, Trump was very proud when he was dishing out those extreme tariffs. He was very proud in doing that, and now he has pretty much burnt bridges with these other nations that he needs. Okay, that America needs. Okay, America is nothing but a consumer, but all these other nations, they are suppliers. So if you're not getting supplied the things you need to run a country, that's the end of a country. You see. But all that came about because of pride, okay? Proud to be an American, that spirit, okay? America first, all that stuff, okay? Now America's going to be last. And that's the scripture too. The first shall be last and the last shall be first. So America's first, now America's about to be last, all right? And this is why you see people getting anxious, people, and as time goes on, people are going to get worse. People are going to start showing, their disdain, their hatred. People are going to start snapping and going crazy. Okay, don't be surprised. Okay, you're gonna start seeing more road rage incidents, people killing each other in the street. It's gonna get very hectic. And in these times, we have to remain spiritual. We have to remain spiritual. We have to be in the spirit. You can't just be out, roaming about doing whatever, thinking it's all peaches and cream like it's, 2003. Okay, we are in a very, very, pivotal time in history. Okay, the collapse of a kingdom, the collapse of an empire, and America's this empire. All right, let me grab one more for our go any further. It says, this is Proverbs 16, verse 18. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. So pride, okay, it goes before destruction. When you before destruction comes, there's an individual is proud, and America's that individual. America's been very proud. Now America's is about to taste its destruction, okay? And it was all, it's been a long time coming, okay? So don't be surprised, okay, when you start seeing shelves empty, stores complete. Hey, I put a video up earlier this week about the hospital shutting down, okay? There's a hospital that I had to go to for my collarbone when I broke my collarbone in a car accident. And when I ride past that place, it's nothing. It's a complete wasteland. It's literally rubble. It was brought to naught. So all these hospitals are shutting down. So if you do get in a fight and get stabbed or get shot, You're not going to be able to get any medical care. You know, it's through. And they've been moving towards this for a minute because the healthcare system is complete trash. But the whole thing is, and they've been saying this ever since the pandemic, they're not looking to save people, okay? They're not looking to save you. They're not looking to help you, live a longer life, a healthy life, okay? This is the end, all right? So let's bring that back. It says, Proverbs chapter 16, verse 18, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And Trump, they put eagle-faced Trump in there. He's very haughty, very proud, okay? And now this place has fallen. And you can see the anxiety in him now. You can see how nervous he is in these interviews and they're asking him these questions. All right? For the most part, he ain't even doing interviews anymore. He just, having people go out and speak for him. And they're nervous. They're anxious, okay? They're avoiding certain questions, okay? So let's play this, and I'm gonna make it bigger. So like this computer is very slow. I gotta update it or something. So bear with me as we go through this. All right, let me see what else we got. Yeah, that's it. So let's go ahead and read this. Let's go ahead and play this. And I'm gonna stop here and there to get precepts and whatnot. So Salakia for that, but that's that's why we're here. Let's play it.
Is over. Now this is a really hard video for me to make. We've gone beyond now. Trump this, MAGA that, Republican this, Biden that, left, right, Republican, Democrat, whatever. Shit's about to get real.
America's going to be the poorest country in the world starting now. You're going to see the biggest crashes happening right now. So that's good for me because the price of gold and silver go up.
That's interesting because most people in India until the last decade have been migrating to the US, thinking that is where is the land of opportunity to pursue the great American dream. But over the last 2 years, we've seen an increasing number of people coming back in droves back to India because that's where they're seeing the opportunity. So that is a very interesting shift that I never thought would happen so quickly.
To those who stand in solidarity, America is in trouble. And dare I...
That I never thought would happen so quickly.
You hear what he said?
In droves back to India because that's where they're seeing the opportunity. So
he said how these Indians, these Elam, and the way they talk is crazy. But they was coming over here, because they thought it was the land of opportunity. They thought they had they would come here and make money, start businesses, open up shops. They able to open up a business easier than an American citizen is able to open up a business. They get all type of grants when they came here. So it was an incentive for them to come here, and I've seen it. I've seen it over the years. I used to work in a neighborhood where it was, it was originally an Elamite neighborhood, but it got taken over by Elam. Okay, just like overnight, houses was going up, and then Elam was going in them houses, and there were nice houses. But eventually, before you know it, the whole neighborhood was Elam, and they all knew each other. They all was family. They had their own communities here. Okay, even in my neighborhood now, not in my neighborhood, but somewhere around my neighborhood. Okay, because when I go to the park to do my lessons and whatnot, it would be like 50 of them up there. Okay, 50 of them. All the men be doing one thing, all the women be sitting around talking, doing another thing, all the kids be doing another thing. So these nations, not just Elam, but all these nations, Chinese, you name them. Okay, they come to this country and they've made a lot of money. Okay, they have started businesses. They have had a lot of opportunities. Okay, but now they're seeing the opportunity of America is leaving, and now they're leaving. Okay, which is going to crumble this place more. Okay, it says America's economic collapse, India's rise? Question mark. Let's play this part back and I'll grab a precept.
Wow.
That's interesting because most people in India until the last decade have been migrating to the US, thinking that is where is the land of opportunity to pursue the great American dream. But over the last 2 years, we've seen an increasing number of people coming back in droves back to India because that's where they're seeing the opportunity. So that is a very interesting shift that I never thought would happen so quickly.
To those who stand in solidarity,
So you heard that?
America.
There's a
And this is
very
what
interesting
originally
shift that I'd never.
made me want to do this video because of what he said. And I've been thinking about that too, man. You know, and it made me think about this precept right here. I'm gonna read up a little bit though. This is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 11. It says, "And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease." And we're seeing this. We're seeing the arrogancy of the proud. These proud Americans starting to cease. Okay, they're starting to shut up. They're starting to look crazy. They're starting to be a lot more humble. And also, too, they're starting to get a lot more angry. Okay, you average Edomite, you look at them wrong, they're ready to hang your ass. All right, these Edomites going to start showing their true. You're going back into the Edomite spirit because they're seeing their country. They're losing their country, and you know how they got this country. So who's to say they won't do what they got to do the same way they got it to keep it? And that was through violence. Okay, so it's about to get very violent. See, they go out and they protest and stuff because that's supposed to be the first steps of But pretty soon there gonna be no more protests. People gonna be out there just trying to take it back by violence. Okay, it says, "And will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible." Right, the Lord is laying this man low. This is why Trump is. Oh, we're gonna make a deal. Hopefully we can make a deal. Now you want to make a deal. Now you want to make a deal, but before you were saying, "Oh, ain't no deal," and oh, we gonna raise them more. Talking about these other nations was kissing his ass. That's pride, bro. That's pride. And now look what it's doing. Okay, which by the way, Trump, they're calling him the first Jewish president. Okay, the first Jewish president because he converted to Judaism, prior to getting elected. This is how this man got elected. And then Kamala was, she's married to a Jewish man. So pretty much, the small hats are running this country. All right. And their goal is to run this place into the ground. This is why, when all these presidents get in office, they got to, meet with those small hats. They have a lobby with the small hats. They all have small hat handlers, executives that's telling them what to do and what not to do. They can never speak against, those small hats, those so-called Jewish people, man. Okay? It comes with consequences. All right? And that's how you know who runs the world when you can't talk bad about them. It says, "I will make a man," it's talking about an Israelite man, not any man, not an Elamite, not this guy on the screen or the other Chinese dude. The Lord said, "I will make a man more precious than fine gold." And right now, the Israelite man has been completely trampled over, walked down, talked down at the bottom, disrespected, neglected, okay, or reproached, disdained. Okay, starting with the so-called American Negro here in America, which is the tribe of Judah, and on down. All the tribes have been, neglected. Okay, but pretty soon you're going to come to find out that these are going to be the most precious men on the face of the earth. Why? Because the Lord is going to be with his men. Okay? He said, "The pastors of my flock are men." Okay? So the Lord is dealing with the men, and not any man, but an Israelite man. And not just any Israelite man. You got to be of the elect. Okay? This ain't a black thing. This ain't a Hispanic thing. Okay, this is an Israelite thing. And you got to come back to being an Israelite in order to get the mercy of YAHAWASHI, the protection of YAHAWASHI. So when everybody else is starving and eating, their own flesh, the Lord is going to take care of his men. And with that, the women and children that follow these men will be protected as well. This is why Isaiah 4:1, I'm excited. Isaiah 4:1 says, 7 women shall take hold of one man. They're going to be cleaving unto this man. Why? Because he's going to be good. It's going to be like a man just hit the lottery. You know how when you're in prosperity, everybody want to be your friend. Well, imagine when everybody's starving and you don't want to eat. You the only one eating. Everybody going to want to be around you. All right. It says, "I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir." Okay, so, you think about gold. You don't just find gold walking down the street. No, you got to dig for gold. Then it has to be purified. Okay, and this is where the Lord God got us where we're at now. Though we're still in the bottom of the society, you're going to have to search for him in the Lord. You're going to have to dig, okay? And through the Spirit, we're being purified right now. We're going through the fire right now. The things that we suffering now, your average American ain't suffering it. Your average black man or so-called Hispanic man ain't suffering it. But we're going through these things now because we're being purified. Okay, it says, "Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall be moved out of her place in the wrath of Yahawah of hosts, in the day of his fierce anger." And that's the time we're coming into, the fierce anger of YAHAWASHI. And these Americans, as proud as they are, they're going to taste it. They're going to feel it. You're going to be completely consumed by the wrath of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. And we about to go out to camp in a little bit. And this is why we go out to camp, to tell you of the times we're coming into. And people are starting to scoff a lot less and listen a lot more. Okay, believe it or not. People are starting to scoff a lot less and listen a lot more. Okay, because they're seeing it. Everything that the men of the Lord been saying, starting right here, elders and apostles, great millstone on down, it's coming to pass. It's happening. It's manifesting. Okay? It says, and here's the point. It says, and it shall be as a chaste roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. Bringing that back. Let's play that again. Okay, listen to what this guy just said. He's an East Indian. Okay, Elam. Listen to what he said.
Number of people coming back in droves back to India because that's where they're seeing the opportunity. Migrating to the US, thinking that that is where is the land of opportunity to pursue the great American dream. But over the last 2 years, we've seen an increasing number of people coming back in droves back to India because that's where they're seeing the opportunity. So that is a very interesting shift that I never thought would happen so quickly.
Yeah, he said, I never thought it would happen so quickly. You know, that's how quick this place is going down. So they all came over here. I see for the past 15 years, 20 years they've been coming over here. And probably before that. But, I know at least 10 years ago, I remember seeing, whole communities. And now it's really bad, I might go to this apartment complex, in Wesley Chapel. It's down here in Florida. And they had a whole apartment complex. Now, it wasn't all of them specifically in this apartment complex, but the point is that the majority of the people, the majority of the demographic in that apartment complex was East Indians, okay? And then when you ride through there, because I knew somebody that was staying there, when you ride through there, it was like, all you seen was them outside with their kids. You seen them, it was like their own little community. Well, now they're going back to India in droves, and not just them, but all these nations. So that's Bible prophecy that this is going to happen, okay? And some of them, they don't really date outside their race, but when they do, they might deal with a so-called Latin tribe or maybe even one of these black women, but guess what? When they leave, they're going to leave you here. They're not taking you with them, They can't bring you around their grandparents, all right? So they're going to leave a lot of you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Indians, and these Edomites here, and that's where, and that's when the race is really going to begin. That's when the war is really going to begin. It says, it shall be as a chaste roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up, they shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. Yeah, they're going back to their countries, okay? They came here to make their money. Now they're going back to their country, all right? And when they came here to America, those East Indians and these nations, what they do, they it's like the old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So they was here in America. I remember seeing them in these communities. They were celebrating Halloween. They were celebrating Easter. I'm like, what? They don't even believe in that. But when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And America is modern day Rome. Okay. It says, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword, right? Because if you stay over here, you're going to die with these people. You're going to die with America. Okay, you will perish if you stay over here in the land of America. All right, and they're realizing this. They're coming to this understanding. They're coming to the grips of this, and it's like, okay, we got to go. Okay, it says, their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. This is the time we're coming into, okay, where it's going to be war. It's going to be complete chaos, okay? And if you proud to be an American, I was thinking about that too. I remember I was working in this neighborhood, and I went into it earlier, well, yesterday. You had these particular houses, in these Edomite neighborhoods, and they got a big old American flag in the front yard, and we always say how that's going to be a target, How, if you got an American flag in your front yard, that's going to be, especially when these UN troops come over here, these foreign troops come over here. Okay, they hate Americans. They hate that flag. They burn that flag. Okay? It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. So, You're going into what, those Russians, you're not going to be able to bribe them into with their gold and silver. Okay. They want war. They want blood. All right. But let's bring this up and go and read in the NLT. I'm reading the NLT. It says, to get a better understanding. Let's go to verse 13. It says, I will shake the heavens and the earth will move from its place when the Lord, Yahawah of heaven's armies, display his wrath in the day of his fierce anger. It says, everyone in Babylon will run about like a hunted gazelle. You ever see a gazelle that's being hunted? They just break off. They dash. They start running all different directions. It's every man for himself. It says, everyone in Babylon will run about like a hunted gazelle, like sheep without a shepherd. People going to be scattering, running like chickens with their heads cut off. It says, they will try to find their own people and flee to their own land. So all this so-called interracial dating, that shit ain't going to be a thing of a past here in America. Because it's going to be every man for himself. Everybody going to their own people and fleeing into their own land. Okay? And that's why that individual said that, how they're coming back. They're going back to India in droves. Okay, and that's just India. What about China? What about all these other countries? They're all leaving. Okay, they're packing their shit and they're leaving. All right? It says anyone who is captured will be cut down, run through with a sword. Right, you're going to be killed. You get caught up out here in America. And that's why we're coming into a time called Jacob's Trouble, where 2/3 of you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Indians are going to die gruesome, horrible deaths because you ain't got nowhere to run to. Okay? And when Esau come down with his wrath, he coming down harder upon you. That's why you have a time called Jacob's Trouble. That's why it's going to be majority of you so-called Negroes and Hispanics, Native Indians. That's going to be the target from the beginning because these other nations going to leave. And, you're going to be an easy target. It says their little children will be dashed to death before their eyes. Their homes will be sacked and their wives will be raped. Okay? This is the time we're coming into. So if you're here in America living your best life, pretty soon you're going to have marauders outside your door trying to get in your house. They'll take all your food, any medication, any liquor you may have. These things are going to be, of great value very soon. The people, like we was going into the other day, people in America waste so much food and water, and they waste all these things. But these are things that you're just going to be a great value, Like in the movie, The Book of Eli, he said people had too much, that they threw away the things that people die for now. So the time we're coming into a bottle of water, I got this bottle of water right here, a nice bottle of alkaline water. It's going to be a thing of the past. You ain't going to find no alkaline water, okay? But you'll be lucky if you find a bottle of water. You'll be lucky if you find any water, period. Okay? And if you do have water, if you do have these things, you will be hunted. You will be preyed upon. People will be trying to kick in your door and come and get what you got. Okay? This is why it's important to know and have YAHAWASHI. Because without YAHAWASHI, you are definitely through. All right, let's play some more.
To those who stand in solidarity, America is in trouble. And dare I say it, America is done. Look,
what do you call it? The breakaway civilization.
Breakaway civilization was a term made famous by Richard Dolan, and it simply described a decision to create a parallel system. First it started with the black budget, but it grew, call it the national security state, but to build a civilization that literally was separate and not subject to the laws of the existing ones. So if I'm running a company and I want to bring up new systems, I'll bring up the new systems while I'm running the old, and I'll run them in parallel, and I'll move things over slowly, and then at some point I bring the current thing down. And to me,
I don't give a fuck if I'm crying. I don't fucking care. America, we're struggling, man. We're dying every fucking day, bro. We got to hear about another friend that blew his fucking head.
Another friend that blew his fucking head off. Look, this is Sarasota. It's not too far, And these people down here in Florida are really starting to realize, because Florida is where you go to vacate, which I've been here all my life. I was born and raised here, but Florida is where a lot of these people in these other states go for vacation, where they're coming down here and finding out that ain't no vacation, okay? Ain't no rest. You coming out here to get a relaxed, chill. No. Listen to what you got to say, though, because, I want to make a point about this, too.
America, we're struggling, man. We're dying every fucking day, bro. We We're gonna hear about another friend that blew his fucking head off. Another friend that fucking overdosed. Another friend that fucking did something stupid. Another friend that fucking... Everyone fucking hates, dude. We're very lonely, America.
Through, okay? And like I went into it the other day, these Edomites are dying in greater numbers than they're being born. This is why the government is considering giving them $5,000 to have babies, okay? But they're dying in greater numbers than they're being born. And even when their women do have babies, they're having their babies with Jake, okay? Not to mention that, you know, and there's a thing going on right now, too. You know, they got sperm races. You know, it's crazy. They got, and there's like a whole arena for it where they have like, you know, I guess somebody ejaculate into like a, you know, whatever. But it, you know, it has a little course that mimics, you know, the woman's body. And you see the sperm racing, you know. And it shows you how you have strong swimmers versus the other person who might have slower swimmers. And, you know, it's a race, which is wicked as hell. Because they're showing you on the screen these, you know, or whatever, these sperms racing like they're about to go find life. But really, they're just, you know, it's all a big show. That shows you how wicked this place is, too, because they'll make entertainment out of sperm, you know, out of, you know, life that ain't even really even life yet, okay? Wickedness. You know, that they doing that. But these Edomites, they're not, you know, they're shooting blanks. They're trying to have babies desperately, and they're shooting blanks. And then the children that are being born, you know, they're killing themselves. They're either blowing their heads off, like you said, or they're overdosing. I could think of like 10 people I went to high school with, Edomites, that then overdosed. Okay, young, 20s and in their early 20s in the spirit world, dying before their parents. Okay, and I remember we was in school. I had a friend. We was in school when I was in middle school. I met him. You know, I used to always be at his house, at his friends. You know, we was like, you know, best friends or whatever. So I was always at his house, and he had a nice, beautiful, happy family, the whole nine. Shortly after, the father died from cancer, and the son, who was my friend, he died off a drug overdose. Okay, at the time we wasn't friends anymore, obviously, but it's just the thought that this is really going on in this country. People are really, you know, dying in great numbers and they're being born, especially you Edomites. So this is another example of how America is done. Okay, because when you don't have enough, when you're not having children, you're not having babies, that's the next generation.
This is from a veteran. We're fucking dying.
I believe I'm at the end of my rope. I think I'm done. Yeah, I try to stay positive, but you can only put on a smile for so long before it becomes fake. With everything going on, the housing, the homeless shelter, finding out my van now has, I think Angela's season up on it, and one of the...
All right, look. I'm gonna...
This guy's leaving MAGA. You see the cross, right? But he said his vans have an engine problem. Another thing too, man. With China being out of the equation, you're not going to get any products, anything, you know, any tools, any, you know, pieces you need to fix these cars. Something go wrong with your car. You know, when you go into AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts, which are shutting down like crazy, those things are shutting down too. All those parts come from China or other countries. So you're not going to be able to get the parts for your job, for your cars, stuff like that. So pretty soon these cars that's why they show you in all these apocalyptic movies, the cars are sitting on the side of the road. You know, cars are sitting on the side of the road. Once these cars shut down, they ain't getting fixed. All right. That's why it wasn't smart or wise to invest so much into this place. You know, Scripture says our treasures are in heaven. We are investing in the kingdom of heaven for the kingdom to come. But you people that have invested so much into this place, you know, whether it be at your job or maybe you might have a business, you don't put all your life into a business that's going to fail. As this thing goes on, these businesses are shutting down. These mom and pop shops, they're done. It's only going to be major corporation business. That's why they showed you in that movie. What that movie was? They had trip my tongue. It had Sylvester Stallone and the guy from Blade in it. You know, forgot his name, but I can't think of the movie right now. So I'm sipping my tongue though. If you know what I'm talking about, you can put it down. But basically in that movie, they showed you how all the restaurants was Taco Bell. You know, it was something. Wow. Let me see. I'll look it up real quick. All right, bear with me 1 second. All right, what was the movie called? It was Sylvester Movies with Stallone. No. Oh man, you know it doesn't really matter. I'm not gonna put too much time into it, but every time I think about it, it's like right there. It's yeah, I'm not gonna get it. But basically in that movie, all the stores, all the restaurants, they showed you how it was the future. People was getting implanted. You had people that was off the grid, living in the sewers, eating rat burgers. Okay, but in that movie, they showed you how all the restaurants were Taco Bell. It was Taco Bell this, Taco Bell that, Taco Bell this, Taco Bell that. We showed you that these major, you know, businesses and stores, that's gonna be the only thing that's left. Ain't gonna be no options. Okay, mom and pop shops. That's all. I'm already seeing that happen now. Where certain places, this is one taco spot I used to go to, something El Chapo or something like that. And it was that's not what it was called, but it was a taco spot, and they had these nice steak fries, you know, loaded steak fries or whatever. But that place is gone. You know, it's gone. All the locations in Florida is gone. All right. So that's how a lot of these, and that was how much more now. You know, this was happening, you know, progressively over time through gradualism, but now it's speeding up. You ride down the street and the store that was there yesterday is not there today. Okay? Which means the jobs that was there yesterday are not there today. All right? What was it? Damn it, man. Sylvester. I got it right here. I gotta get that, because if you haven't watched the movie, you should definitely watch it. Demolition Man, beautiful. Thawada, call YAHAWASHI. Demolition Man. Okay, go watch that movie, Demolition Man. This is what society's going to be like here, and it's going to only be like that in those smart cities. Okay, but Demolition Man, they showed you how they had the MOTB. You couldn't say cuss words. You couldn't even have sex. Okay, that's what they're doing with this whole carbon taxing thing. Okay. But one, you know, and you gotta watch. When people watch for entertainment, but we watch for edification. They showed you a lot of stuff in that movie, and like I said, one of the things were all the restaurants were Taco Bell, and it was like different restaurants, but they always named Taco Bell because, you know, it was they went to a fancy restaurant. It was still Taco Bell, but that shows you that these franchises, you know, it's gonna be a war of these franchises, and the main one is gonna take over, and that's all that's gonna be left. Okay. So your options are waning. It says 2 Ezra chapter 15 verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. And that's another thing too, man. And I'm seeing that within myself. You know, it's like the spirit is heavy right now. The spirit wants to bring this out. It's like I'll be wanting to chill, and the spirit like, no, I'll go do a video. You know, because the spirit, the Lord speaks through his men. He speaks through the mouth of his holy prophets. So it's not us that's coming up here doing these shows and just speaking. No, the Lord is speaking through us. There's certain points the Lord wants us to put out there, and we got to put them out there. Okay? Because what? Those are prophecies. Because people hear it and they say, oh, he's just saying that. And guess what? It happens. It's happening. Okay? It says, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. And I've seen that in my own life, where I've seen people that spoke against me or this truth, you know, spoke against YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, called us false prophets or whatever. Niggas is dying, okay? Niggas is dead. I can give you an example of 2 guys right now that was going all around people who I knew growing up, talking shit, you know? And through the spirit of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, those guys are in the spirit world. And they was young guys, okay? One of them got wrapped around the tree, you know. The other one, I don't know what happened to him, but he's out of there too. So YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI is not to be played with. This word is not to be played with. But everybody's still playing, right? Okay, keep playing. It says, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. If you don't believe in this, guess what? You're going to die. You're going to die, okay? And it's going to be the most gruesome ways. The Lord got certain judgments set up for people that you can't even imagine. You had no idea you was going to go out like that, man. The Lord got certain ways for you people to get taken out that you really wouldn't even think, you know. And what people don't realize too, as they're just living their everyday lives, is your death is sooner than you think. People think they got another 20 years. Oh, I might die in about 20 years. I might die in about 100. No, nigga. You'd be lucky if you got 20 weeks, okay? You'd be lucky if you got 20 weeks, man. 20 days. All hell can break loose any day now. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. The Lord is tired of this place. All the wickedness has been fulfilled, so now it's time for him to do a cleaning, okay? Therefore, saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and the righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. So the YAHAWASHI, he's up there with brothers that passed, like beloved brother Daniela that was in our camp. You know, I still use his his edits in my videos. That's why you see the edit. I'm not really an edit guy. I don't really do the edits and stuff, but I do that because, you know, for the brother, showing that his works are still living on. But even the beloved elder, Barak Gabar, who recently passed, they're up there crying unto Yahweh Bashim Yahushua to take this man down, to destroy this place, praying for our brothers. Okay. Jumping down, it says, verse 10. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm, and will smite Egypt with plagues as before, and destroy all the land thereof. So Egypt is a modern day Egypt is America. And America is about to get smitten with the same plagues as Egypt and other and worse plagues. Okay? Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment of that the Most High shall bring upon it. So this is the Most High doing all this. Okay? It's Yahweh Bashim Yahushai that's doing all this. Verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, which means destruction. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. These Americans, they got guns. Okay? And they're going to be in the streets fighting each other, killing each other. Okay, over the last honey bun, you know, in the convenience store, you know, over the last bottle of pain pills. All right, it's gonna be a terrible time. People are going to have. Scripture says, "The love of many shall wax cold." People gonna prey upon the weak. You know, the old lady that lived next door, the old couple, you know, across the street. You know, people gonna target them first. Okay, it says, and then, you know, the women and children. It's gonna be like taking candy from a baby. This is why people are gonna be cleaving to the men of the Lord. Men, women, and children are gonna be cleaving to the men of the Lord. When you see a man of the Lord come through and he good, you know, people gonna learn to respect the men of the Lord as well. Do they respect us now? No. You know, you got little ugly ass kids talking shit while we at camp. You know. Women walking by, throwing it, you know, tooting their face to their nose up. Who do you nigga think they is? Okay, you're going to find out. Don't worry, you're going to find out. Okay? When all the games stop and all the folly cease, then the people are going to come to the reality. That's when reality sets in. It says, verse 16, there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. Right? People they ain't gonna care about Trump, you know, the justice system. People gonna take matters into their own hands. But it said they shall be invading one another. So they're gonna be, you know, kicking in your door, you know, busting windows, climbing through your windows. It was a video came out of a Jake dude. He came in his house, and it was an illegal immigrant hiding in his house. So he pulled out his gun And the guy said, "Hey, what you gonna do with that? I'll beat your ass if you ain't had that." That's what the the intruder said. And the dude put the gun down and went to whooping his ass. But the point is, that guy was in his house. You may come home one day, somebody might be in your house, sitting on your couch, eating a bowl of cereal. Okay? When you leave, you wondering why stuff in the house moved, and like somebody been in there, and they watching you when you leave, and they going in there when you come back, they coming out when you leave. Yeah. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. They're gonna shut this place down. You ain't gonna be able to go into a city or leave your city. It said, because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. Because of their pride, right? Because of America's pride, Trump's pride, the city shall be troubled. How they gonna be troubled? Ain't gonna be no food in there. Ain't gonna be no lights running. Canada talking about shutting out lights to those, to New York, New Jersey, places like that, where there's a lot of people at. Okay? It says, so, and that's another thing. So America is very dependent upon these other nations, man. Okay? I guess they didn't give Trump the memo, but America is very dependent upon these other nations. That's why Biden was kissing ass the way he was, because he understood that America needs these other nations. They would ask him questions, and in those meetings, and he would say, "No, of course not." That would start World War III. He was trying to evade war. Trump is leading us right into war. Okay, call YAHAWASHI for Trump. Let that man do his thing. Let him talk. He gonna talk himself off a cliff. He gonna talk himself into a nuke. Okay, and this whole country. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. If a grown man is afraid, how much more women and children? Okay. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. Yeah, the people in your neighborhood that you smile to when you take your trash out or you go check the mailbox. They ain't gonna have no pity upon you. Hey, I'm sorry, neighbor. My family gotta eat, man. As he's standing over you in your bed, he's standing over you with a gun. This is the time we're coming into. Long-time friends are gonna be at each other's throats. I know you got food in there. Hey, I know you got food. They're going to be teaming up with other people to come and get you, man. Okay? Family members. Scripture says a man's foe should be there of his own household. It says, but I will destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Because there's going to be a lack of bread, a lack of food, and great tribulation. The Lord is going to destroy all that, man. Okay? Let's see. Let me grab verse 49. I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. The Lord's going to send all type of plagues. Okay? You name it. What she said, I got beans, greens, leans, potatoes, man. Hey, you ain't going to have none of that, man. Okay? Ain't going to be no food in your pantries. You got these, Trump cutting these food assistance programs. They're not going. They're pretty much shutting down any food pantries. Which when you go into them food pantries too, they have something. They have bugs in that food. Because the food been sitting. But what happens is the food in them food pantries is getting infested with bugs. They have this thing called weevils, where you'll go get and you might go get some food from out of there, and put it with the little food that you got left, and it's going to destroy all the food. Now you're really hungry. Okay. YAHAWASHI y'all to be feared. If it's your lot to starve to death, you're gonna starve to death. Okay? If it's your lot to get stabbed up, in aisle 3 for the last can of bottle of ibuprofen, that's your lot. That's the way you're gonna die. They're shutting down these hospitals. They're talking about how, the graveyards are full. So wherever you die at, that's where you're gonna lay, and then that's going to cause more pestilences and disease because dead bodies is going to bring a foul stench in the air and more bacteria and disease, especially as we're coming into this time in the summer. Imagine a dead body sitting and just baking in the sun for 2-3 weeks, a month, where somebody died and they've been sitting there for the past 2-3. It's gonna stink. Okay, You ever been walking down the street and you smell something pungent hit your nose and you're like, "Man, something died over here." Okay? That's how it's going to be. But except it ain't going to be a squirrel. It ain't going to be a raccoon. It's going to be a dead body. They showed you that in the last episode of this recent episode of The Last of Us. They was walking and they smelled, death. So they stopped and they saw this guy on the side of the road. But then when the girl, she smelled it more, and she went over and deeper into the woods, and she saw, it was people, dead children, men, women, okay, and the spiritual too, because in that show they showed you how it showed you a scene of people before they died, and they was, they was putting their hope in a prophet, as they called her, but it was a woman. Okay, through. It says, verse 26, "For the Lord knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction." The Lord is delivering these people unto death and destruction. They don't see it coming yet. They think it's still a game. They think it's all going to be okay. But right now, the Lord is already setting up where you're being delivered into death and destruction. Okay? It's inevitable. It says, "For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them." You're going to stay in these plagues. They ain't going to go away. You're going to remain in them. Okay? "For the Most High shall not deliver you, because you have sinned against him." This is why you've had the men of the Lord out there prophesying, telling you to repent, to come back to YAHAWASHI, to get right, because guess what? You're going to remain in your sins now. All right? You had an opportunity to repent. You had an opportunity to get right. But because you didn't, now you're going to die and remain in that death. You're going to remain in these plagues. Verse 56, "Like as thou hast done unto my chosen, saith the Lord, even so shall the Most High do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief." And these Edomites are being delivered into mischief, death, and destruction. Look what happened with the crack epidemic. Esau did that purposely. Okay? It was a woman, she did a study where she found out that like crack cocaine, it stays in the human body more if you have more melanin. It doesn't leave your body as fast if you have melanin. So it was literally a literal, how you say it? It was an experiment to kill you Jakes. Okay? But now look what's happening to Esau. He's people dying off of the fent, which is worse than crack cocaine. They dying off of the fentanyl overdoses. They dying off of the opioids. They just threw. And you niggas out there that still, participate in this wickedness, doing all this evil, and you better repent. It was a video that came out recently, how they said how they was going into it, how this weed, that they passing it, selling out here on the street. Hey, people spraying that shit with fentanyl too. They're spraying the marijuana with fentanyl. So you out here smoking a blunt and you OD off a fent because you want to be a nigga. Put the weed, put the blunts down, man. Okay? It says, verse 57, "Thy children shall die of hunger." Yeah, when these shelves get empty, your children are going to die of hunger. "And thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy city shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field." Right? People going to be just dying left and right. It says, "And that in the mountains," that's like they that be in the mountains shall die of hunger, and eat their own flesh and drink their own blood, for very hunger of bread and thirst of water. People going to be just, getting how they live. Cannibals. All right?
A Trump supporter since 2015, all right? And I can't do it anymore. I've been thinking a lot lately, and I'm just kind of realizing.
We have breaking news right now. The Trump administration is considering sending migrants with criminal records in the United States to Libya and Rwanda. And also, according to CNN, the Trump administration is discussing creating a so-called safe third country agreement in which the United States would send asylum seekers apprehended at the United States border to Libya. This would be
safety and defend our communities for law-abiding American citizens. We need, look, the crime is most rampant right here and in African-American communities, and more people see me and they say, sir, we want protection. We want police to protect us. We don't want to get robbed and mugged and beat up or killed because we want to walk across the street to buy a loaf of bread. They want it so badly. The fake news doesn't talk about it. But the black population wants law enforcement more than any other population.
They just voted
You heard that?
to give Trump the ability.
Now they care about black people all of a sudden. Now they care about black. It says martial law for blacks only. Now they care about black people all of a sudden, man. You know, this man's a devil. He speak with a forked tongue. Okay, let me grab that too. His words were smooth as butter. Let me see. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, but war was in his heart. Esau is a madman. Okay. Here we go right here. This is Psalms chapter 55, verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Oh, we gotta help the black people. They need law enforcement more than what? No, niggas trying to police their own neighborhoods because they tell you going in there and choking them out, you know, in front of the convenience store. It says, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. You see, so Esau, they'll speak all sweet, like they care about you, you know, pretend like they all for you, but the whole time is they have an ulterior motive to destroy you. Okay, we in a time where you can't trust no Edomites. I put a post up the other day. I'm gonna go into it, Lord willing, probably tomorrow or something. Shalom, brother YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH, BRAKATAH. You know, but it was a Jake. You know, he was about to be in Get Out Part 2. You know, the white woman, she was talking about how she wanted to be with him, and the whole time her and her parents, who were brain surgeons, you know, they got money, they were setting his ass up, and they're probably gonna take his organs. That's the real thing. That movie Get Out was a documentary. That wasn't just something that they just put up for entertainment. They was telling you what's really going on. They showed you in the very, very beginning of the movie, a nigga got snatched up, and nobody heard from him again. Okay? They snatching Jake up and taking your organs. Okay, you got Jake's getting, found, dead, and the whole chest done got sewed up, and when they open them up, they got no organs inside of them. That's all they need you niggas for now. Your organs. All right? It says in the NLT, it says his words were as smooth as butter, but in his heart, which means his mind, is war. And that's Trump altogether. This guy Trump, he speaks very smoothly with his words. You know, you see the way he talk. It says, but in his heart, his mind is war. He wants to break war. His words are as soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. You see? It says, give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. Don't trust in this devil. Don't be trying to call Esau to help you. Don't be trusting Esau to deliver you. Give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. But you, O power, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction. Murderers and liars will die young. But I am trusting you to save me. You see? We trust in Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHWASHI to save us. But Jake's still looking for a white man to come with open arms, and Jake's still praying to white Jesus. You through. You're done. You're done. Okay? Let's play some more. I think this is about where I stopped at, so I haven't seen the rest of this video. We're gonna play it and continue in the spirit.
Enforcement more than any other population.
They just voted to give Trump the ability, legally, to give him the ability to deport U.S. citizens. That is what they voted for. A bunch of elected U.S. representatives. That is how they voted. Am I telling a lie, Eric, or no?
Okay, Eric.
No. They voted to allow Donald Trump to deport U.S. citizens. And they did it during the week that we learned that a 4-year-old little girl fighting cancer, a U.S. citizen,
has been deported, separated from her U.S. citizen father and her cancer treatment. So, yeah, it's kind of shocking.
Deborah, also.
Y'all not gonna believe this
You
shit.
heard that? You heard that? Because the girl had cancer, you know, which they said when you get cancer, the doctors they got dollar signs over their eyes, okay? Because that's a $300,000, you know, treatment, you know, with the whole chemo and stuff. That's a $300,000 that your insurance pays for, okay? So they looking at they get dollar signs when you get cancer. That's why they promoting carcinogenic things more and more, okay? But basically, they said how the father was a U.S. citizen, because the mother wasn't. They deported the mother and the child who was born in America, you know? And saying this guy Trump voted to deport black Americans. You Israelites, what we told you. They weren't just going to start at the Northern Kingdom. No, they coming for you niggas too. Whether you a U.S. citizen or not, they don't care. In their eyes, you 3/5 of a man. You was never an American citizen, believe it or not. You were brought here to work, okay, to be slaves, property. And a man can do whatever he want to do with his property. It says, Judges chapter 10, verse 13. Yet ye have forsaken me and served other gods. Therefore I will deliver you no more. Go and cry unto the gods which ye have chosen. Let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation. Right? Go cry to Jesus. Go cry to the Buddha. Go cry to Krishna. Go cry to whoever you've been worshiping. Go cry to Trump. You see? In the NLT, it says, yet you have abandoned me and served other gods. But believe it or not, these Americans, even you Christians, you're serving another God. You're not serving the God of the Bible. You're serving another God. So whatever God you're serving, somebody coming to my post there, they tell them, does it matter what he looked like? Does it matter what his name is? Okay, well, it's going to matter in that day. When you got to call upon him and you don't know his name, how can you say something you know somebody and you don't know their name and you don't know what they look like? That's why the Lord, he gonna tell people, get thee from me, I have not known you. I don't know you. What? Who? I don't know you. You've been worshiping another God this whole time, and you think it's, you know, it's cute, it's funny. You think it's a game. It says, so I will not rescue you anymore. Yeah, the Lord ain't gonna save you no more. Go and cry out to the gods you have chosen. Let them rescue you in the hour of your distress. And that's how you know the Lord is a Jake. You're like, nigga, go call upon who you was calling upon. All right? You picked your side, and I stay over there. All right?
Just watch Jasmine Crockett. She said that the Republicans voted yesterday to deport United States citizens. Excuse my hair, some of my twisties came loose. But anyway, they're ready to deport black men. Be ready. Be careful. I told y'all this was coming. Jasmine Crockett just said it. She just said they held a meeting and all the Republicans voted to deport United States citizens. They voted for that shit, okay? I told y'all black men to be careful. I told you they was coming for us. They coming.
You all choose to live in condos or homes or houses as far away from these kinds of gangbangers as you possibly can. If I offered any one of you a rent-free home with no taxes to pay in any of these gang neighborhoods, and I said your neighbors are MS-13 terrorists or Mexican mafia or Sinaloa cartel or Tren de Aragua, I couldn't pay you to live there. But yet you, with your coverage, are trying to force innocent Americans to have these people as their neighbors.
When we arrest public safety threat, one at a time makes this country safer. But I got one thing I need to say real quick before I leave.
Take your notes from me, Tom.
Take my notes from me. I'm going to read it. I don't want a misinterpretation of what I'm reading. The registration requirements under 8 U.S.C. 1302. If you're illegal alien in the United States, this message is for you. You cannot hide from ICE. We're actively looking for you. Federal law requires every alien in the United States who has been present in the United States for more than 30 days needs to register.
Yeah, they said how on the last video I did night before last night. They was going into it how they just did 1,000 people operation. They just got 1,000 people down here in Florida. It was an operation down here in Florida. It was called Operation Tidal Wave, and they came in and they got 1,000 illegal immigrants. But they say they have 80,000 people more on their list they're coming for. And that's just here in Florida. Imagine these other states, you know? So it's about to get bad. And they're not sending you back to your... See, first they were talking about sending you back to your country. First they, oh, we're going to send you back to your country, you know, yada, 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 boom, bam, bam, right? Nope. Now they're talking about sending you to some El Salvadorian prison, sending you to Libya. You know? Some country way on the other side of the earth, just so they can, you know, wipe their hands with you. They sending people that ain't even, you know, on their list to these particular prisons, and they don't care. They're talking about, yeah, we're not going to go get them. The Supreme Court said you got to go get them. No, we're not going to go get them. It's flat out saying no.
For those 14 years or older, you need to be fingerprinted with the Department of Homeland Security. Federal law requires every alien in the United States to tell DHS in writing if you have a change in address within 10 days of changing the address. Failing to register with DHS and failure to tell DHS about your new address are criminal offenses, and they're going to be treated as such.
We have some terrible
So
breaking
now
news,
you
right?
become a criminal for anything now. But did you hear what he said? You got to register, if you are an illegal alien, you got to register with DHS, okay? Which means that you register with them, they're going to come for you, period. They want to know your address and everything. And that's just so they can get you. They talking smooth and all calm and like it's all cool and stuff, but it's ultimately just to get you. They'll play it cool, like, hey, if you tell us where you live, then you can stay. As soon as you tell them where you live, they come and knock on your door. All right? Look at this. Breaking. Haitian woman dies in ICE custody. So it ain't just the Northern Kingdom, it's, you know, the Southern Kingdom as well. You Levites, Haitians, okay? You Jamaicans. You dying in custody, man. Okay? And these people that they're getting out here, they have no rights. So you know, troops taking their pick, you know, doing whatever they want to do to them people.
Right now, a Haitian woman has died in ICE custody. A 44-year-old Haitian woman, Marie-Ange Blase, has died in ICE custody in South Florida in Pompano Beach. Now, according to the official ICE statement, the cause of death is unknown, as under investigation. But according to some sources, like The Independent, she had complained of chest pain, lie down, and the next...
Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding.
Speaking of this, Trump just passed an executive order where they can discipline your children in school again. That's how they used to do it back in the day. You know, you go to school, they'll discipline you, you know, pop you, send you to the office, and they got a paddle in the office. You remember that? Yeah, they showed you that in that movie, Tilda. You know, but now they want to bring that back where teachers, you know, principals, and school staff can discipline your children. So your children might come home, you know, with a black eye, because there ain't gonna be no paddle. They're gonna start swinging on your kids, man. Okay, kid might come home with a black eye. You go up there and throw a fuss, they're gonna lock you up and take the kids. It's just through. Okay, there is no, you know, this isn't America isn't where you want to be right now. All right.
So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This new executive order is pretty bad. It's a pretty bad deal. Allow me to provide my assessment. I think, however, that we may have missed the forest for the trees. There's a pretty significant part of the order that really no one's talking about. Of course, I'm talking about this executive order strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens. But
Yeah, that's why this guy came in dancing like that. He came in mean mugging. That's why he didn't swear it on the Bible. This guy, he's converted to Judaism. Okay, which Judaism, those Jewish people, they don't believe in the Lord. They think the Lord's still coming. They don't believe the Lord came. You know, they said over there in Israel how the greatest threat to the state of Israel is Black Americans here in America. What? They were bombing people in Palestine, but we the biggest threat. It's because they know who we are, okay? They know who we are. They bombing them Palestinians for that land, but ultimately they got a problem with us for the heritage, you know, for who we are. They figure if they get rid of us, then they can become the people. All right. So yeah, it's gonna get bad out here, man. It's gonna get real bad, and we ain't seen nothing yet. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16, verse 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars. What? And it's like the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, bad times. What shall I do when these evils shall come? What you gonna do when these evils come? What you gonna do when these bad times come? What are you gonna do? There's nothing you can do. If you don't have Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, there's nothing you can do but die. Okay? Perish. It says, behold, famine and plague and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. And this is a part of the Lord's, correction. When you get them hunger pains, that's going to be because you played with the Lord. All these years of eating crab, shrimp, and lobster abomination, now the Lord going to starve your ass to death. Okay? It says, but for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness. Seeing all these things about to take place, Jake ain't going to repent, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon earth, they shall think themselves to be in a good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Okay? So evils are growing upon the earth. It says, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish in famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So yeah, if you ain't starving to death, you're going to be getting stabbed to death or shot to death. Okay? There shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. The trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men, so that one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. It says, for a city, for of a city, there shall be 10 left. That's how many people much people going to be dying. There's going to be 10 left, and 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks. It says, let's jump down. Verse 31, even so in those days there shall be 3 or 4 left by them to search their houses with the sword. People kicking your door with guns. Okay? Clear. All you going to hear as they go from room to room until they get to that last room with you and your family in it, huddled up, praying to Jesus. Clear. Contact, and they're going, it ain't just gonna be an easy death. They're gonna torture you, man. Okay. It says, and the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel therethrough. The virgin shall mourn having no husbands, and the woman shall mourn having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn having no helpers. It says, in the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. People gonna be dying. Okay, starvation. You gonna have families where the father may go out to go get food, and he never come back. He died on the way. He never come back, or he might just go and say, F my family and just I gotta save myself. You got that. You got a lot of these men out here in America that are straight cowards. Okay, they ain't got a manly bone in their body. They ain't got no integrity in their body. All the nigga been doing this whole time is sitting at a computer and at the office, clicking, clicking on the mouse and pressing on the keyboard. He got no survival tactics, can't fight worth the hell. All right. So it's gonna be every man for himself. Look what happened in that movie, 28 Days Later. That man, his woman and his daughter was, I believe his daughter was in the house, or his woman. It was his woman. The zombies came in and he left her ass. He ran, Cowardice is a huge thing here in America because America's been living very, delicately, It says, what's that saying? Great times make weak men. Okay. So good times make weak men. And these men in America are very weak. They're not ready. Okay. Your average man in America is going You know, he ain't lifted more than 50 pounds in months, okay, if not years. So they ain't ready. You ain't been in a fight. You ain't even been in a spar with anybody in ever. You got grown ass men in America that never been in a fight. When we was young, that's all we did was fight. I remember my dad and my uncles, they used to have all my cousins come over, and they would get drunk and shit, and they would have us in the backyard fighting. I mean, we was out there fighting in the rain. Fighting. I'm talking about 12 of us just out there just free fall. Everybody fighting, throwing hands. And that's how we learn how to fight. Okay? The push come to shove, you know how to defend yourself. These people, they don't know how to defend themselves. They are defenseless. Okay? So as it get bad, you're going to see, you know, this time is going to separate the men from the boys. Okay? The time we're coming into is going to separate the men from the boys. It says, in the war shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. Behold, the Lord, the word of the Lord, receive it. Believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake. Right? You must, hey, receive this word. Get this word now. And the Lord put the Spirit in us to start doing more of these videos, start getting more, you know, more into these precepts so that you can't say you ain't know. I probably did like, I got videos I did this week I haven't even uploaded yet. I still got to upload videos, man. You know, so the Lord is pushing his word out. And, you know, his word is like a fire on our tongue. It got to go out. And that right there is how we know, how I know through the Spirit that the time is short, man. All right, we don't have much time left here. You see what happened in Europe where the lights just went out, people was looking stuck. It's going to come a time where the lights going to go out here in America and they ain't coming back on. I'm going to close out with that. Let's close out with that. There's a lot on this too. But I want to close out with that. Let's go out. The night is far spent. What's that? Cause Jake think they got a, you know, they got the luxury of wasting time. All right, we gonna see. Jake go days without doing a video. You ain't did a video. You ain't did nothing for the Lord in a day. And all these things happen on earth that need to be spoken about. All these prophecies that need to be spoken about. You ain't on fire. Okay, well guess what? When your ass hungry, the Lord gonna leave you there, and he ain't gonna be in a rush to feed you and your family. They're gonna be looking at you, Mama, Dad, I'm hungry, and you're gonna be, I don't know what we're gonna do. All right. John chapter 9 verse 4. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. So we must work the works of him that sent us while it is day, doing the will of YAHAWASHI, serving YAHAWASHI while it is day. Because the time is coming where no man is going to be able to work. You ain't going to be able to work when all hell break loose. You ain't going to be able to go out there to camp when it's martial law on the streets. You ain't going to be able to do a video when they shut this, you know, this electricity off, the internet off. That's when every nigga want to do something. Okay? Now is the time to take this time seriously, man. Get in the Spirit. If you ain't in the Spirit, pray for the Spirit. Because if not, the Spirit is not going to be with you in that day. If the Spirit ain't with you now, hey, man, if the Spirit ain't on you now, it damn sure ain't going to be on you in that day. Repent, seek YAHAWASHI, where he may be found. Come out of that darkness into his marvelous light, because it's about to get very dark for everybody else. Shalom, Kwame Sharala, Ababa Bar, praise lessons been edifying to the whole full light. Shalom. Oh, and double honors to our elders and apostles, great millstone.